I don't know about you. No problem. I use in conversation quite often, I'll say, or if I'm praying for somebody, I pray for peace quite often. And so I know I have heard a few things about definition of peace, and I imagine you have as well. So I look forward to hearing those. But I thought I would what look at what the scripture says throughout. And so, as you may know, in the Old Testament, the Hebrew word is shalom, and that is a very, very powerful word. Or shalem is like the verb version of it. And you can correct me at any point, Annabelle, if I say something wrong. And as I get to the Greek one, the irene is what's used in the New Testament, and with very similar meaning. And so it is something that we find peace in the Bible over somewhere around 400 times in the Bible. The word peace is used. So it's a very, very common word. And so I'm just wondering, just to start, how you use peace in your everyday conversation. Like how does that word come up? To like bestow peace on somebody, basically. We'll talk about that in a minute. Like, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I peace you. Peace out.
Just that way of saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you use peace ever in your not too often?
Peace be with you.
Peace be with you. Maybe say that. I mean, maybe it's more on the news we think of in terms of like war and the opposite of that peace, wanting peace, trying to create peace. Oh, thank you for handing those out. So that, and maybe that is just the main way that we use it now, is just in relation to the desire for a lack of war.
Say I'm not at peace about it.
Mm. Okay. And what does that mean to you?
That I've got conflicting thoughts and they trouble me.
Okay.
Something talk about peaceful landscapes or
Mm.
peaceful place to be.
Yeah. Maybe searching for peace.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a okay. Well, so we're going to take a look first. I think there's some really good passages in the Old Testament that help us kind of understand peace, in particular the shalom version of it. And so I watched this Bible Project. If you haven't gone to them, they have such great things. And so they have a little like short video, and then there's also a podcast about peace that they did. And so I did get quite a bit of this beginning part from them because it was really well done. I thought I did put at the resources on the back of your handout there. There is the link if you want to check it out later. But in it, they started with this idea of to make something have shalom. So that's that verb that you're talking about. How do we make something have shalom? And so there's a few things, and you may not have thought about them before. So we're going to go to the book of Deuteronomy, Deuteronomy 27, verse 6, and look at how it might be an unexpected way to look at shalom, because this has to do with stones, the first one, but you might not think about stones being peace filled. But if somebody's at Deuteronomy 27, verse 6, if you want to read that.
Must build the altar of the Lord your God of unhewn stones. Then offer up burnt offerings on it to the Lord your God.
Okay. So that unhewn is that shalem. It's whole, it's unedited, it's complete. So they were not to like cut pieces off to make them fit. It was to be a stone just as you found it, to put it there. Then the next one is 25 verse 15. Just back a page. Could someone else read that one?
You shall have only a full and honest way. You should have only a full and honest measure, so that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you.
So these are shalom stones. They're honest. That honest kind of has this idea of the shalom stones, in that they are not to have like two different stones in their bag, one that's 5 grams and one that's 6 grams, and then cheat somebody out of how much they're supposed to get. They're unaltered. They are honest. It's making your relationship with the person that you're dealing with in a state of shalom because you're being truthful with them.
Doesn't that tie in a lot with many of the proverbs? The Lord abhors and unfair balance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it seems to be very widespread throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
Should be in the New Testament.
Yeah. Well, certainly, yes, the whole idea of a shalom in our relationships is a very big theme throughout the whole Bible. Okay, so we have stones that are being built to make an altar that should not have been cut or edited in any way. We have stones that are to be honest in their measurement. They're not to be fiddled with or made to be dishonest in any way. And then in Exodus 22, verse 6, there's an interesting thing which I feel like could happen in Saskatchewan. It has to do with wildfires. Well, started fires that turn into wildfires anyway. We could somebody read that when you find it, Exodus 22, verse 6.
And fire breaks out and catches in thorns, so that the stacked grain or the standing grain or the field is consumed. The one who started the fire shall make full restitution.
So the restitution is that shalom.
Okay.
Yeah, this, and I have to say, this came directly from Bible Project, because I was like, I have never heard this before. So the one who started the fire should make shalom, should recompense for any loss that was done and return it back to what it was. So it's not even just like paying them for it. Like, you need to, if the barn burnt down, you need to like build it back up for them. Or if their field is ruined, you have to reseed it for them. So it's
turning it to wholeness.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Returning it to the ideal or the whole state of something, what it was always supposed to be. And so there's something, really, as we're going to talk about shalom as a greeting in a minute. And if we take those contexts into using it as a greeting, I think it really deepens our understanding. So again, just to kind of repeat. So shalom is the whole, the complete, the fulfilled, or the equal of something. It is what it was always meant to be. I was curious, I was like, was it used in the Garden of Eden? But as far as it looks like that's not when that word was not used back then, but maybe because everything was shalom at that point, then it didn't need that word until afterwards when things were not shalom. And if you want to think of the opposite, so anything that is partial or unfulfilled, unfair or unequal, those would be the opposite things, shalom. So then in greeting with shalom, we're going to look at a few places where this is used. Even today, shalom is a greeting that is used among Jewish and some non-Jewish people as well. So if we go to Genesis 37, we're going to meet up with Jacob and Joseph. So Genesis 37, 12 to 14. Somebody read that.
Now his brothers went to pasture their father's flock near Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, are not your brothers pasturing the flock at Shechem? Come, I will send you to them. He answered, here I am. So he said to him, go now, see if it is well with your brothers and with the flock, and bring word back to me. So he sent him from the valley of Hebron.
Thank you.
And he came to Shechem.
So see if it is well, that is that shalom. Go and see if they are shalom. Go and see if they are fulfilling everything that they are supposed to be doing, if they are whole, if all is well. basically, with the brothers and with the flock. So are the sheep healthy? Are the sheep having enough to eat? Are the brothers getting along? Do they have enough food? They're going to kill you, but we're trying to kill you. But anyway, so not so much shalom going on there. His father was a little bit oblivious, I guess, of that. But yeah, so that was an idea. Like go and check on somebody's shalom. How are they doing? But more than just like how we say, how are you? It's like, is that person, are they fulfilling their purpose? Are they like really doing well, being everything they were meant to be?
A good thing to bear in mind in visiting people.
Mm-hmm. And if we go to Exodus 18, it's another time we hear this greeting with Moses and his father-in-law, Jethro. Exodus 18, verse 7. Somebody read that?
Moses went out to meet his father-in-law. He bowed down and kissed him. Each asked after the other's welfare, and they went into the tent.
Okay, so can you guess which kind of word is the shalom in there?
The welfare.
Welfare, yeah. So they asked, are you everything you were supposed to be in this moment? Are you fulfilling your purpose? Can imagine that would be a pretty good conversation with Moses at that point when he's just come out of Egypt. And one more, 2 Kings 4:26. So we meet the Shunammite woman and Elisha. Okay. Somebody has that, they can just read it when they get there.
Ran at once to meet her and say to her, "Are you all right? Is your husband all right? Is the child all right?" She answered, "It is
The question is all well with all of you, as it's supposed to be. So even are you flourishing can have even that, like even more than just like as it's supposed to be, like are you really well, like everything is going well in your relationships, in your we're going to get into that in a minute when we go to Leviticus, but in your life. So it's not just an absence of negative things or danger, but it's a positive presence or fulfilling of purpose, having plenty and experiencing whole relationships. So this is the ideal, right? What you're wanting for people or for yourself. So in Leviticus 26, we see kind of what the perfect state of shalom would be if all was well. So if we turn back to Leviticus, if you were in right relationship with God and all was right in the world, this is how it would be. This is not necessarily how it is. It is what it should be, right? When we're talking about fulfilling its own purpose. Does anybody want to read that? It's a little bit longer of a passage. 3 to 13. Leviticus 26.
If you follow my statutes and keep my commandments and observe them faithfully, I will give you your rains in their season, and the land shall yield its produce, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. Your threshing shall overtake the vintage, and the vintage shall overtake the sowing, and you shall eat your bread to the full and live securely in your land. And I will grant peace in the land, and you shall lie down, and no one shall make you afraid. And I will remove dangerous animals from the land, and no sword shall go through your land. You shall give chase to your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. 5 of you shall give chase to 100, and 100 of you shall give chase to 10,000. Your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. I will look with favor upon you and make you fruitful and multiply you. I will maintain my covenant with you. You shall eat old grain long stored, and you shall have to clear out the old to make way for the new. I will place my dwelling in your midst, and I shall multiply you, and I will walk among you, and I will be your God, and you will be my people. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Be their slaves no more. I've broken the bars of your yoke and made you walk erect.
So what do you hear? What makes shalom in there? There's a lot of things.
Did you reap before you sow?
Yeah. Yes, I said it's like the idea of like the grain harvest is not finished yet when your grapes are all ready, and then your grape harvest is not finished yet when you're red seeding next crop. Like it's just overabundance.
Well, at first I thought that you will be at peace, and then we come up to, but when your enemies come, you will chase them and they will run. So it's not entirely peace, but it is all in your favor in the end.
Not peace, but safety or security.
Mhm.
Like even if they come, you're gonna chase them away.
There's something about that when God's on your side. It's not that everything's going to be perfect, and I think that is a theme, right? That life is not perfect. Life is not going to be perfect. So it's interesting that you picked that out, right? So when your enemies come, it's not like you're never going to have any problems, but God is with you to get you through that. That's God is the one that gives you the shalom. It's not your circumstances giving you shalom, even though it does certainly show up in our circumstances sometimes. So yeah, so we've talked, so security from enemies and beasts, rest and lack of fear,
Wild animal.
abundance and prosperity that we talked about. And in particular, though, the reason that all of this is happening is because the presence of God is with them. They are in shalom with God, and God is in shalom with them. So it's a result of walking in God's statutes and having his presence dwell among the people.
He is keeping his covenant, which we will talk about.
There you go. Okay, so one more, we're going to look at Isaiah a bit, because Isaiah, it is a key theme. Shalom is a key theme in Isaiah. It's mentioned about 29 times, according to what I read. And so there's a few themes, and they're mostly have to do with like messianic themes. So there's somebody going to be bringing shalom, and it's not the people. They keep messing up the shalom, right? They mess up the world and themselves, but there's somebody coming who's going to bring that. So we have Isaiah 9, verse 6 to 7.
For a child has been born for us, a son given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow continually, and there shall be endless peace for the throne of David and his kingdom. He will establish and uphold it with justice and righteousness from this time onward and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this.
So the Prince of Peace is coming, the Prince of Shalom, the one who's bringing all of that.
So in the original Hebrew Aramaic, would shalom have been used for Prince of Peace?
Yes, I believe it was the Prince of Shalom, yeah. Okay, then we'll go to Isaiah 26, verse 3. Want to read that one?
Those of steadfast mind keep in peace because they trust in you.
Thank you. So it doesn't use it here, but some translations say perfect peace, or peace, peace, shalom, shalom. I don't know if I heard that in here before in a class, but that repetition of the same word to like give it emphasis.
But do they have to use a descriptive word to shalom at all? Ever? Perfect peace or everlasting?
No, it's shalom, shalom means perfect peace. Is how it's like translated from what I understand anyway. Okay. Yeah, so for those who trust in God, they will find shalom, shalom, perfect peace, that all-encompassing wholeness. We go to 53 verse 5. But he was wounded for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the punishment that made us whole, and by his bruises we are healed. So here it's that wholeness was come through the punishment on this Messiah.
Also the healing.
Yeah, perhaps that.
That's a different word in Hebrew, but the idea is definitely good.
Of the healing, you mean? Yeah. Right. And then just over the next chapter, 54 verse 10. Eleanor, would you read that?
Heart. I steadfast love shall not depart from you. My covenant peace shall not be removed. The Lord with compassion.
So that covenant of peace through God's promises, that covenant of peace will remain. And then kind of the opposite of having no peace, if we go to 48 verse 22, so just back a couple pages.
There is no peace, says the Lord, for the wicked.
So peace is tied to something. Shalom. Like we saw in Leviticus, right? If we're following God faithfully, we have access to God's shalom. But if we are acting wickedly, if we are not following God faithfully, there will be no peace. Again, in 57 verse 21, find a similar idea. It is exactly the same. Yeah. There is no peace, says my God, for the wicked. So
Was there a word that's the opposite of shalom?
probably, but I don't know what that is.
Or instead of no peace? Okay.
Right. Chaos, maybe something like that. I did see chaos written somewhere. Maybe it was more like the idea of shalom in the chaos. Yeah, sorry, I don't know that. So what have you heard? Can you summarize kind of what you heard from the Old Testament use of shalom? What do you know?
Obviously more than just, I hope you are healthy. Well, this is prosperity, I suppose, contentment.
I was thinking integrity with some of your the weights and measure them when you.
Mhm.
I'm hearing wholeness and flourishing, but as a result of being in a particular state of relationship with God.
And most Hebrews thought the perfect shalom was the Garden of Eden before sin. And after the ability to walk and talk with God freely and openly, the ability to live a life that is committed to only one thing. That is something that's beyond the peace that we understand and beyond the calm that we understand that comes with it.
Thinking I need to be more careful about who I wish peace upon if I don't mean it in the depth of that context. Maybe someone I don't know very well, or maybe I've had issues with and our relationship is straightened out, and to be a little more careful that I'm not insincere when I use that word.
Although maybe it could be a,
It could be a healing thing, but
yeah.
I have to make sure my heart is right before I use it.
Yeah. Somebody once said to me, sometimes you have to want something. So I want to wish shalom on this person. The starting
One thing
spot.
that we see within our Christian community, intercession without peace with God, for interceding for others,
Mm.
is not, unless we're at purpose. Our intercession should be, Lord, help them. It shouldn't be, I want you to do this for them. I want you to do that for them. Even the curing and the healing. We have to be, number one, pure at heart first before we intercede for others. So the intercession would be it has to admit that, God, this is your plan. You deal with it. But as best you can, and that becomes a real issue because we do a lot of prayer for other people without considering what's driving them.
I had to be pure in heart though before I started it. I would never want to pray.
No, but you pray for yourself that you understand, and that God works and the Holy Spirit works within you to take that prayer out there.
One of the examples you gave was really interesting in the context, because the episode in Second Kings, are you shalom? Is your husband shalom? Is your child shalom? Everything is shalom. Everything was not shalom. Her son had just died, and she was coming to the prophet to seek his assistance and basically resurrecting him. So I'm not quite sure what that says, but
Maybe even then they used it like, how are you doing, flippantly?
well,
So yeah, I'm okay, no big deal, even though your whole life has just fallen apart.
It seems to me though, if we apply closest explanation, then as long as she was acknowledging where she was in relationship with God, then she would be. Am I understanding that correctly?
well, that's one. I mean, there's many ways you could look at this. That is one way.
I hear you saying like the song "It Is Well With My Soul," that idea, right? Where like, yeah, everything is not okay, but God and I are okay. So there's that shalom in me because of that, and only that, right? Good. Well, we're going to switch to the New Testament, and this idea too of like peace with God first, peace with others, and then peace of God, as in the peace that comes from God. I think those three things we see quite often in the New Testament in particular, and the words, the Greek word, irene, it is, the Greek version of it is much more about like war and peace, that kind of idea. However, because we are talking about Hebrew people who are sharing this, they brought the idea of shalom into that word. And so it very much holds that meaning that we just talked about from the Old Testament in this new word. And also this idea of peace in chaos, because as we know, the New Testament world in those first world, after Jesus left, or while Jesus was on earth and after Jesus went back to the Father, was full of a lot of chaos, and things were not shalom. It was definitely not, the Garden of Eden had not returned, and everybody wasn't living in peace with God and each other. So how then do we look at peace? It was interesting, on the way in this morning, I was hearing somebody talk about a book that they had written, and they were talking about, it was a book for young girls about how to basically raise more resilient girls because there's so much anxiety right now. And she was saying that we do our children injustice by teaching them that everything should be perfect if they're doing things perfectly. And so, because then they expect that everything should be perfect, and when it's not, then it causes a lot of anxiety. And so I guess a caution in all of this is that peace, shalom, that Leviticus 26 shalom, where everything was going great and abundant and amazing, that is not the normal state for us. That is more the Garden of Eden state, like that. And we will get back there someday when Jesus returns. But right now, hopefully we can get parts of that in our life. That's like our, the goal, to have that shalom of God. But it's not that we are, let's be careful not to think, okay, well, I don't have shalom, so therefore I must be doing everything but wrong. Like it's just not, it's like the Proverbs, right? So like, just, if you do this, this doesn't necessarily happen, even though it comes straightforward. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to take a look at Jesus' use of peace a few times. So we're going to go to the book of John to start with. And if somebody could read John 14, verse 27.
Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Do not let them be afraid.
My peace I give to you. That's what struck me. I don't know about the rest of you, right? Not the way the world says. It's not the absence of everything bad.
He also speaks of their hearts being troubled and being afraid. And so he's recognizing that they are under stress, and he's trying to give them, well, a sense of peace. Don't be afraid, don't be troubled. And this was a rather traumatic part of their lives.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a moment of like when everything is not going the way you want? There is not shalom. It feels like everything is falling apart, or things are just really going bad. But there's this sense of peace, like somehow God's got you. Can anybody be willing to share a moment like that?
Business first fell apart many years ago, realized we were going under. For the first time in my life, I was not going to have a mortgage payment. And I'd never been poor in my life. Never happened to me. I was terrified. And my dad sent me a letter from an old friend who had used to babysit me when I was a little kid, hadn't heard from in years. And in this letter was an explanation of a rather large check that fellow's not a believer. He felt very much impressed that he should send us this check, and he was kind of embarrassed because he didn't know our situation. And it paid our mortgage payment and our groceries for the next month. And so after that, I was a lot more chill about what was going on. I thought, just try to obey the Lord, do the best you can. He will look out for you. It'll all work out somehow. And I never expected to feel that sense of peace in the midst of the most, at that point, scary time of my life. Right.
We can go back into the 23rd Psalm and say, you prepare a table for me in the presence of my foes. I'm at peace with God because we're at the table together. Whatever happens around us is irrelevant at that particular time. And that's the kind of peace that we need. we know we're never going to be in the perfect home. Even in COVID terms. We have to accept that we're living in a world that is not a peaceful place.
When we were heading to South Africa, we'd been talking about going for a long time, and you know, everybody knew it was coming, and my boss finally got tired of the uncertainty of it all and gave me a layoff notice. It was the weirdest layoff you've ever seen. You know, please stay as long as you possibly can, but you're done in 15 months. Which at the time seemed perfectly fine. Our house was up for sale. We weren't expecting to stay, but then the house didn't sell and didn't sell and didn't sell, and things dragged on. It was getting closer and closer, and it was like, okay, what's gonna happen now? Like, are we gonna have no work and lose the house? And you know, the same as Sue, and that was just very, very stressful. But you know, right just before the final layoff date, an opportunity opened up to do some contract work, and it was like suddenly I was making double what I was been making before. It wasn't for very long, but it was just like, okay. After that came in, it was like, okay, we, you know, we're covered. God's got this.
Thank you. Right, let's flip over to John 16, verse 32.
That maybe supposed to be 33.
Yes. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Would you read that?
I have told you, I've said this to you so that in me you may have peace. In the world you face persecution, but take courage. I have conquered the world.
So we don't have to have the shalom in ourselves. I don't know, there's something very freeing about that, right? Like, I need to look to Jesus. Jesus is the one who has that. And that's where I can find the shalom, not, I don't have to be searching for it and getting mad at myself because I'm not finding it. Maybe you don't do that. I do that a lot. I get mad at myself because I'm not doing things right. But going
There's a sense in that, in having sort of put in both kingdoms, that Jesus is saying that in me you may have peace, but people are about to persecute you, and you'll experience both at the same time.
Mhm.
It isn't that he's taking away the things that are troubling you, they're still there.
Right. Then over to John 20, verses 19 to 21. When it was evening on that day, and the first day of the week, and the doors of the house where the disciples had met were locked for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and his side. Then the disciples rejoiced when they saw the Lord. Jesus said to them again, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I send you."
Interesting that he said this after he showed them his hands and his feet, which was not a peaceful thing for him to receive these marks. And yet he still was wishing peace upon them, and he apparently was at peace himself. So even in times of dire straits and death, when it may be peace.
Well, and even if we're looking at that wholeness, that shalom idea, right? Then Jesus, even with his death and the holes in his hands, he's whole. He's there, and he's. And Jesus doesn't expect, I'm sorry, Jesus does have expectations of us as well. We go to Matthew 5 with regards to spreading peace. Matthew 5, verse 9. We're in the Beatitudes, which we have been talking about. Mark, would you read that?
Blessed are the peacemakers.
So we are to be makers of shalom in this world.
And what does that mean? It's a complicated idea.
Well, if we go back to those beginning things about bringing wholeness, honesty, integrity.
You're not talking about peace between two people who are at war, odds with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I've always read it that way, but now you make me think it's much wider.
Like, what are you thinking?
Pardon?
Like in what way is it
Well,
wider?
just what you said. It's
Okay.
not necessarily making peace between two people who are at odds with each other, but bringing a sense of,
Bring shalom,
yeah,
which is a way wider concept.
yeah.
So do we do that by doing examples to people? Like how we live to be sort of a peace that might harm others?
Be part of it for sure. Yeah.
Because you can't impose your peace upon people. And even just wishing peace upon them if they're at each other's throats isn't going to make much difference. I suppose that means that our lives have to be one of peace, and people have to see how we are living.
Mm-hmm. One of the nicest compliments I ever got was from a neighbor who, when I started to work on staff here, said, "Oh, that's why you seem so peaceful." And I was like, well, first of all, I don't really feel peaceful, but I'm glad that that comes across to you. But yeah. Mm.
For me,
Mm-hmm. It's using that verb tense of shalom you're putting that peace on the world. Yeah,
I'm not
thank
sure
you.
I would feel comfortable wading into a fist fight between two drunks and say, peace be upon you. So there's some situations I don't know that I could be at peace.
but there's plenty where you could.
Yeah.
Without getting into other people's problems, I can think of a handful of people that are just problems between me and them. Before I get into trying to fix other people.
That's shalom, it makes it more, a bigger responsibility than just create this between two people, and I think it's more broader, like with showing people.
Mhm.
I think that Ron said that being at part of civil society. Going for a walk in the park, you pick up a piece of litter.
Mhm.
That's bringing peace to the community, society.
And wholeness to creation. That's that part of that too.
Being aware of what's going on around.
I think it also implies that there is a responsibility for us to be heard. We're living in a very polarized world right now, and it's unfortunate, but the Christian community seems to get quieter, and the other people seem to make more noise, and he who makes the loudest noise gets direction. The Bill C9 things that are happening to us. I think there is a responsibility for the Christians and the church to voice God's opinion and to look for peaceful solutions where people can live together.
And to be careful how we're doing that too, so that we are
have
doing
to
it
be
in a
extremely
shalom
careful.
way.
You can't pick a side. and
Yeah.
Say, I'm gonna support
Well.
this side, because all you're doing is you're augmenting the numbers, that's all you do.
Yeah. Go ahead. Okay. So there's this idea of, we're going to move it now into Paul's use of peace, which Paul uses peace in every book. He almost starts or ends every book with a greeting of peace of some kind. But there's this idea that peace is inseparable from reconciliation, both a vertical, but peace with God and us, and horizontal with us and other people, that those work together to bring shalom to this world. And so we're going to take a look, first of all, at peace with God. How do we have peace with God? So Romans 5, verse 1, start there. I'm going to read that.
Therefore, since we are justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ.
So how do we have peace? Christ, right? It's not something we've done, but it's something that Jesus has done. That Jesus is the one who's given us that peace between God and us. And then over to Ephesians 2. (14).
For he is our peace, and his flesh he has made both groups into one, and has broken down the dividing wall, that is the hostility between us.
You keep going to 17.
He has abolished the law, its commandments and ordinances, that he might create in himself one new humanity in place of the two, thus making peace, and might reconcile both groups to God in one body through the cross, thus putting to death that hostility to it. So he came and proclaimed peace to you who were far off, and peace to those who were near.
So here in particular, he's talking about Jews and non-Jews, right? Bringing peace to those two groups, that those are the shalom, that wholeness together. We are one humanity, that through Jesus we are one. Anything else you hear in there? The thing I read was about, so Jesus took on the violence into himself, absorbed it, so that we have shalom through Jesus.
You're one new humanity as human being an organism, a single organism.
Mhm.
But the wholeness is only found when we're all right with one another.
And he's speaking here particularly of Jews and Gentiles, of racial conflict or religious conflict.
Does that extend to ideological conflict?
I didn't hear you.
Does that extend to ideological conflict?
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing. The shalom is not easy to, like, yeah, how do we be one with people that we completely disagree with? Or that who are, trying to kill us, like in parts of the world where there is war. It's not.
And the more, both sides really people for being conflict. That to me has always been so hard. But my dad had played in Germany during the war, and he did not want to be. He was on the right side because he lost. We can't always see, but I know in his own heart. That is of God. And I think that's he just. He has to do with it. Whatever stage we're at. Tough world. I think it'll continue now.
The people that we know in Lebanon were such a model to us of how to do this. I think you have to take the whole situation to another level and see what God is doing behind the phone. He is in control where it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I remember in Lebanon, one of the things that stuck out to me the most was that they were doing this peacemaking groups, and they would go into a town. The one I think it was actually in Syria, and they had Christian women and Muslim women come together, and they did a day just to get to know each other. Basically, they had an activity, and there was no agenda other than if we can know each other as human beings, then we can't hate each other. If we look at each other as Christian and Muslim, we can hate each other because there is this like wall between us. It was very, very powerful. And that was exactly what they said at the end of the day. They said, before you were an enemy, but now you are a mother like me, or you have issues with your family like me, or you love doing this activity like me. All of a sudden there's these connections, that shalom, that oneness. It's powerful. We are going to skip to well, maybe we could do Philippians 4 verse 7. This idea of present reality of peace, but also a future hope of that full peace that it. So yeah, Philippians 4 verse 7. Could someone read that?
The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. This used to be part of George Baxter's benediction every Sunday.
That
Peace there isn't just something passive in the background, it is that the peace is doing something.
and somehow it doesn't make sense that it's that piece we were talking about where things are like not okay, but somehow you have this peace inside of you that God has given you. Like, I've got you. That's what I hear anyway. That yeah, no matter what, I've got you. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians 5. This one I can never find. It's that tiny little book. Someone can read it when they find it.
May the God of peace himself sanctify you entirely. May your spirit and soul and body be kept sound, blameless at the coming of our Lord.
What do you hear in that one? Sanctify you entirely, your spirit and soul and body, and make you blameless. That's pretty powerful. Peace to do all those things.
But it's the God of peace that is doing it, not peace itself.
Yep.
So just as Jesus is the Prince of Peace, he's talking about his Father, the God of peace. This is what he is able to do, to sanctify you and give you all of these blessings. So how does that come? God of peace. Shalom has been used almost as an adjective here.
You're the one making the peace, right? You have Annabelle have a idea about the Greek in that particular one.
The Greek will help there.
I don't know. Yeah, okay.
I'm thinking back to that Romans 5:1 that we have peace with God that through what Jesus has done. So he's the God of peace. He is the God who through Jesus has brought us peace. And in Romans it goes on to talk about how he will sanctify us. It's part of the same God.
I'm gonna
Like the blessing of shalom in its broadest sense. Especially shalom on you, Ireland, spirit of God.
There's a few more there, but I'm going to let you look those up at home if you desire. And there's many, many more verses, but those are some of the ones that we picked up. I just wondered if we could take a minute before we end to think about what brings you peace, because I think that there is something important about paying attention, whether it's a place or an activity or could be all kinds of things. I can give an example of, and I was thinking about this last week as I was out with my sheep a lot because I'm feeding these babies. And there is something when I'm just sitting there, once the babies have eaten, so they're not so crazy, but just sitting there with the sheep, it just feels so peaceful. Like I can, the sun is coming down on me, whatever version that is on that day, the wind is coming around. But there is this shalom because everything around me at that moment is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's fulfilling purpose. The sheep are just eating. The babies are running around playing or having a drink from their mom. The sky is still the sky. The sun is still shining. The wind is moving things around. And there's something, that is definitely a thing that I need to make sure I keep in my life is going out into nature and experiencing that, like that shalom. What's nature is fulfilling its purpose.
To sit and remember all the things that God has done in the midst of other circumstances that were not good for 20 or 30 years in a row. And just to remind myself, I don't need to worry now about anything that's going on. God will do something in the midst to help us do something, to give us peace, to help us cope, whatever. It's fine that I can do that anywhere, sit anywhere and just meditate on my thoughts. Just assume that He will continue to give us courage for the rest of our lives.
Practice of gratitude and thanksgiving. Yeah.
Sometimes just reflect on what I would want for everything to be perfect in my life. And everything I think of, God has done. It is, when I think of it in terms of my relationship with God and with other Christians, He's done everything I can possibly think of.
When someone forgives me. If I feel that I've done my best and for that, And not that everything is done, but I've done, I can look back and say, oh, I've done this. Yeah, of course. If I can name, I have it set out.
Mhm.
There are boys ahead of us by about an hour, half an hour or so. And when we arrived, we got a little taste of what they described, but what they described was all of our neighbors coming and embracing them. And they both found it quite moving. I have no, I didn't understand. There was something quite powerful there, quite, I would think that's a little picture of shalom.
Well, I'm going to end this time with a blessing. And then if you could help me move chairs to the side, that would be great. But for now, the Lord bless you and keep you. Lord, make his face shine upon you. The Lord make his presence known to you and give you peace. Thank you.